When we think of fraud, it doesn't cross our minds that it would happen during one of the most traumatic periods of our lives, or even involve our own governments. In 2020, we were all focused on what COVID-19 was, where it came from, and how we could protect ourselves. Personal protective equipment ended up being the #1 sought after product, as everyone from the health service to police, healthcare assistants in care homes to us, as the general public, needed to stop the spread of coronavirus. However, it's now been discovered that billions of dollars have been lost by companies fraudulently claiming funds and government officials giving contracts to friends, knowing fully well they weren't able to deliver. In today's video, we will be taking a look at what is fraud, how PPE became centre stage for fraud being committed, and the scandals so far discovered. Hello and welcome to another KYC Lookup video where we bring you AML related content to help you enhance your knowledge in the fight against money laundering. Before diving into today's video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Oh, and don't forget to leave us a comment with any suggested topics you would like us to cover in the future. We also have a special announcement to make, so be sure to watch until the end to find out what it is. So, on to today's video. What is fraud? Fraud is defined as making a dishonest representation for your own advantage or to cause another a loss. Dishonestly neglecting to disclose information when you have a duty to do so. Conspiring with others to commit fraud by agreeing to do something which causes loss to a third party. Why is PPE so critical? PPE, as we all know, stands for Personal Protective Equipment, and it is used for hygiene and health and safety purposes. It is mostly used in hospitals to stop cross-contamination. PPE consists of face masks, gowns, gloves, eye protection and sanitizer, which during the pandemic we were told we needed to start using in our everyday lives. How was PPE procured during pandemic? PPE is normally procured through specific supply chains directly, or if you're in the UK, is through the NHS supply chain. China is the biggest supplier of the PPE, and when the pandemic hit, the demand was so high it put a huge strain on the chain, and there was a dip in distribution. This put many countries in panic mode, and they tried everything and anything they could to acquire it. If the products couldn't be brought in, then they would have to look closer to home. With that thought in mind, companies started to contact the government and ask them if they needed their services on providing everything they needed, and started bidding for huge contracts to make face masks, gloves, gowns and hand sanitizer. Problem sorted, you would think. But no. Many genuine businesses were left waiting for the green light to start production, and others were so overwhelmed with orders they couldn't keep up. Whenever you turned on the TV, you would hear stories of hospital workers wearing bin bags as gowns, flimsy face coverings, and having to bring their own hand sanitizer, if they could get it. The public then became more alarmed and tried to source for their own goods too. As the months went by and supply was still not enough, the government would assure its citizens more supplies were on the way. It was reported that Turkey supplied the UK with 400,000 gowns, for it only to arrive and be impounded, as it didn't meet the UK standard. Other countries who were highly dependent on distribution of medical supplies, for example the US and Spain, became highly vulnerable. In what was described as modern-day piracy, US officials blocked German orders, while France and Germany decided to block exports to Spain and Italy, leaving them more vulnerable for the infection to spread. It became every country for itself. What fraud scandals came from the pandemic PPE procurement? As time went on, many governments took it upon themselves to outsource PPE production to other companies, so the flow became steadier. But recently, we have all been rocked by the stories of corruption and fraud from the procurement of personal protective equipment. For example, last year in Kerala, India, voiced concerns that supplies they were receiving were not of good quality and only limited number of items from a fully PPE range to just protective suits and shoe covers, even though they were paying a high cost for it. This was due to the government putting a price restriction on the raw materials made to make the products. Good quality products were then going to other states, as there was not a price restriction. This left many of the workers and community at higher risk of COVID-19. Another story to hit the headlines came from the South African Revenue Service, who have been focusing on 52 non-compliant companies that received 1 billion rand, which is the equivalent of just over 65 million US dollars, in contracts for the supply of personal protective equipment and other COVID-19 related services. To date, 11 companies have been convicted, 7 cases are currently in the court roll, 29 cases are with the National Prosecution Authority with allegations ranging from corruption or related activities, such as maladministration of funds in respect of the relief and containment interventions. In the UK, it is now being discovered that £8.8 billion, which is close to $11 billion, is being written off at a loss due to fraud and the setup of a VIP lane, which saw acting government officials bringing forward companies which they claim they had no contact to but were friends with the owners to acquire contracts worth millions of pounds. No due diligence was conducted on these firms, as it was deemed so urgent to get the products that there was no time to conduct any. Let's look at a few cases more closely. A Conservative peer, Baroness Moan, is stated to have referred a company, PPE Medro, which won 2 contracts worth £200 million. That's 271 million in US dollars, just weeks after it was set up. The company was founded by a former business associate of Moan, but Moan has previously denied any involvement in the process by which contracts were awarded. According to an official document, Lord Agnew, a Cabinet Office Minister, referred 3 companies to the government's high priority or VIP lane list. These included WorldLink Resources, a company advised by former MP Brooks Newmark, that landed a £258 million deal. That's 350 million in US dollars. He also referred Uniserve, which was awarded £204 million. That's $276 million in PPE contracts alongside its existing $572 million, that's $776 million, contracts to handle PPE logistics. It was revealed recently that the government had paid Uniserve $124 million, that's $168 million US dollars, for storage costs of unused PPE which is currently being left in huge storage containers. As this is an ongoing investigation, no charges have been brought forward. Yet. Again, let's state, no due diligence was conducted on these companies, which is the basic requirement at the time of entering a new relationship. How does this affect us all? Every day a new story arises from the pandemic fraud, which leaves a bad taste in our mouths. We lose all confidence and trust in the governments who are supposed to do what is right by us all and set a good example. Taxes must rise to cover the losses, and we must work harder to take care of our families. Well, there you have it, a tutorial on what is fraud and how fraud has played a key role in some of the governments around the world, as well as how it impacts our everyday lives. Please tell us in the comments section if you feel people have been held accountable for this scandal, what scandals have been discovered in your country involving the government, or what other topics you would like us to cover in the future. Now for the special announcement mentioned at the start of the video. We have now launched our very own courses for you to take a more in-depth look at a variety of subjects, such as Introduction to AML, Beneficial Ownership, and Customer Risk Rating, for example. So make sure you visit our website for further details and let us help you connect the dots in KYC. Thank you for watching the video, and if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe to watch more amazing videos.